Welcome to KetoMealsAndRecipes.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious Oreo cookie pie crust for our keto, sugar-free, and gluten-free lifestyle. This pie crust recipe is based on my Oreo cookie recipe. Please go to that video for a step-by-step demonstration on how to make the cookie dough. I've added an end link for your convenience. The macronutrient charts are shown for both the 23 centimeter or 9-inch base as well as for the 15 centimeter or 6-inch pie base. The overall ratio, regardless of the size of your pie base, is 4.1 to 1. However, the specific total carbs, fiber, and net carbs per slice will depend on how many slices you cut each pie into. I will discuss this further in my blog post in the FYI section. After making your cookie dough, compact it and wrap it in cling wrap and put into the refrigerator for about an hour to firm up the dough. Chilling will make the cookie dough much easier to work with. Otherwise, you'll find that the cookie dough is very sticky. When your cookie dough has chilled and you're about ready to start, preheat your oven to 175 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I have found that using a silicone mat to roll out dough, whether cookie or otherwise, is really handy because the mat will stay put. I recommend that if you're purchasing a mat, purchase the largest one you can get. You'll find that the silicone mat is an excellent investment, which will make preparing your food much easier, especially if you don't have an assistant to help you. But if you don't have a silicone mat, you can also use a sheet of parchment that is a bit bigger than your cookie sheet. Because the parchment will slide around, I either secure the ends by taping them to the underside of my cookie sheet, or I ask someone to help me by holding the opposite ends to keep the parchment in place. Now place the dough directly on the silicone mat or onto your parchment-lined cookie sheet and cover the dough with a long strip of cling wrap. Use your hands to gently press the dough and flatten it a bit, and then use your rolling pin, applying gentle pressure and rolling in all directions, starting from the center and going outward. The goal is to create a uniform thick layer of dough that is about 6 millimeters or 1/4 inch thick. If in the rolling you notice that the edges are getting thin, just cut them off and re-roll that portion of the dough. You ideally want the entire surface area of the dough to be the same thickness, which will result in better and more consistent baking time. After you've finished rolling out the dough, slide the silicone mat or parchment sheet, if it hasn't been placed in the cookie sheet, directly into the baking sheet. Place in the middle position of your preheated oven and bake for 10 minutes. After the 10-minute baking time, remove from the oven and place it on a cooling rack and let cool until it is completely at room temperature. If you don't let it get completely cool, you'll find that the crumbs will clump and you will not get a consistent crumbling effect. After the cookie sheet has completely cooled, to make the crumb base, simply break off a piece at a time and gently crumble into a bowl. Repeat until the entire cookie sheet has been made into crumbs. Now for partitioning. This total quantity of cookie crumbs will make 2 23 centimeter or 9-inch pie crusts, which you make by dividing the crumbs into 2 equal portions. Or, if you're making a smaller base, it will make 4 15 centimeter or 6-inch pie crusts by dividing the total crumbs into 4 equal portions. Because it's easier to make the full cookie recipe, you'll have extra crumbs for the next time you want to make a crust. I love the idea of prep ahead steps, especially because it makes the overall cooking or baking so much faster and easier the next time around. Whatever portion of crumbs you're not going to use, divide into the desired quantities and place into individual labeled and dated freezer bags, then place into the freezer. These frozen cookie crumbs will keep for several months. To thaw, pour the contents of the freezer bag onto a flat plate, spread the crumbs out and let them get to room temperature. Then use as explained to make your crust. Now to make the crust. Because the cookie dough is so flavorful and is already sweetened, all you need to do is to take the required quantity of Oreo crumbs, place it in a bowl and pour the melted butter directly on top. Use a fork to thoroughly combine the butter and the crumbs. Then pour the mixture into a greased pie pan, such as this ceramic one that I'm using here, or use a parchment-lined springform pan. To compact and shape the crust, use a fork to press down gently. Another good way to compress the crumbs is to use the bottom of a small measuring cup. Just press gently until you have a nice, firm, even surface. Then place into the middle position of your preheated oven and bake for 10 minutes. Don't be tempted to leave this in any longer. Remove the tray from the oven and let this giant cookie cool in the pan. You can use this base for whatever pie you're making, but this Oreo cookie crumb base works especially well with various different types of cheesecakes. Enjoy! I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Thank you, and see you next time. Please go to the description below where you will find the link to the printable recipe.